You're a young teacher in the prime of your life. You find out you've got cancer. Now what? Welcome to the Hack Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Barnes, bringing you right now solutions to some of your biggest teaching and learning problems. Now, let's hack learning. I got out my bed early this morning, down the road. Welcome to episode 75 of the Hack Learning Podcast. We have a very special episode today. I think it's appropriate that it is around the time of the holidays. We have Justin Birckbichler, a teacher from Virginia, and I want to get right to it and have him tell you about himself because his story is an amazing one that you are going to want to share. And fortunately, you get an opportunity to participate in this journey as he takes it. Justin, welcome to the Hack Learning Podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Justin Birckbichler. In my fourth year of teaching fourth grade, I used to teach in Northern Virginia for about 3 years, and then this year I changed school districts, still teaching fourth grade, but now I'm near Fredericksburg, Virginia, and I have always been wanting to be in education since high school, and before that I wanted to be a chef. So different journey than most, but I am now in education and love getting to spend every moment with kids.
Justin, you are chef turned teacher. You're 25 years old and you have cancer. Tell us about it.
So, you saying you have cancer, I've heard that numerous times over the past, couple of weeks here. Gets a little easier now that I've dealt with it a little bit. But yeah, I do indeed have cancer. Stage 2 non-seminoma testicular cancer, which spread to my lymph nodes, to be exact. And it's been a whirlwind of a journey. As we're talking here tonight, it's only been, less than 2 months, about a month and a half since I first went to a doctor's office just to, get a lump that I had felt through a self-check, get that checked out. And then from there I was bounced to an ultrasound, then bounced to a urologist. And that's when he sat me down and he said, there's no easy way to say this, but you have cancer. And, I had been preparing myself to hear that, but it's different thinking you have it than being told. So I was immediately rushed into surgery to have the mass removed. Then I was recovering out from school for a little bit. And then they did a CAT scan and they saw that it had spread to my lymph nodes. So I'll be undergoing chemotherapy here shortly, and starting, right after Thanksgiving. And, silver lining in all this, very curable, will be cancer-free as opposed to going into remission once the chemo's complete.
Well, Justin, I appreciate you telling this story and can hear the sincerity and the concern in your voice, even though, after saying that your cancer spread, that you're going into chemo, you did say that it looks like you'll be cancer-free at the end of this, as opposed to going into remission. That's wonderful, and certainly we all believe this to be true because you've caught it early. And I know you're going to talk about, some awareness of this kind of cancer and how to approach it. Sharing this story with us is really brave. I can't imagine doing this, you coming out right away and saying, hey, I've got this, and sharing it with an audience and facing it head on. I'm a lot older than you and have experienced a great deal in my life, and I cannot imagine just coming right out and doing what you're doing such a short time after learning about it, after finding out that you have cancer, that it spread to your lymph nodes. I mean, it's a scary, horrible thing. And many people deal with it, and I think a lot of people deal with it in different ways, and oftentimes that's to sort of hide from it. And what you're doing is amazing, but you're going one step further in this, in sharing your story. And this is one that I think is truly captivating, and I know our audience will as well. So tell us how you are sharing your story with your students, fourth graders.
When this all started, and like I said, it went really, really quickly. I was missing school here and there. I'd leave for a couple of minutes at the end of the day early, or I'd leave during the planning period to go get the ultrasound. The kids realized I was missing school, and so I was just told them that I had an issue that I needed to get surgery for, and I had told them at that point it was a leg surgery because that's where my incision was. Well, because my urologist had told me that I had cancer, he said, we needed to biopsy the mass to ensure. So I didn't want to, drop that on the kids immediately if it wasn't going to be cancer. So then, as the story unfolds, they biopsy it, they see it spread. And I returned to school after about 2 weeks of not having seen my kids. And at morning meeting, we came together. My guidance counselor for the school and my principal came in, and I said, I've been out for a while. You see, I'm walking with a cane because I was still in some pain from my surgery. And I said, the whole reason I was out is I have cancer. And, I always say being on the other side of those words doesn't make it any easier. If not, it makes it harder, especially telling students. And so they reacted in a number of different ways. Some started crying immediately. Some just looked shocked. Most of them just had some awkward glances. So I was open and honest with them, just as I've been, open and honest with everybody at this point. And I'll get into what I'm doing next going forward here as I'm going through chemo. But I just answered all their questions as honestly and as straightforward as I could. I went back to school for about a week and a half before I had to leave for chemo, and every morning I gave them an opportunity to ask questions, and I answered them because I think, it's cancer can be scary. Don't get me wrong. I had a grandfather that I lost to cancer a couple of years ago, and it's scary. But I think rather than brushing it under the rug and refusing to talk about it, I think these conversations need to happen. And my kids are 4th grade. They have their whole life ahead of them, so they need to realize cancer isn't a death sentence anymore. So just having those open and honest conversations with them, touching base with them, reiterating I will most likely be fine. I think that's been huge with that.
So, Justin, you told your students about having cancer. You opened up. You could have kept it to yourself. You could have hidden from it or hid it from maybe your most important stakeholders outside of family, your students, kids, young, impressionable kids. And you decided to tell them, to open up, to make them understand. It's so brave. It's amazing. I can't imagine it. Trying to think of sitting in front of those kids and sharing that story. I just can't say enough about how courageous it is and such a wise decision for someone so young to make, to bring those kids in and to say, this is something we all have to face together because we're sort of a family. Now, what I love, though, in this story, just as tragic as cancer is, this is really a miraculous story. It's a good story, even though you're really at the beginning of your journey, and it's still very frightening. It's an amazing story because you are taking this one more step. In addition to telling your friends and colleagues and students and their parents, you want to tell the world. And this is really an amazing thing you're doing. So tell us how you are sharing your journey, how you're chronicling cancer for the world.
I told my students, and I told close personal friends, I told friends from college, high school, and I realized that wasn't enough. On Twitter, I have roughly 6,000 followers, which is a decent amount of following. And I realized I could leverage that. So what I did was I started a blog called A Ballsy Sense of Tumor, and I'm documenting my journey in 3 different ways. I'm documenting from when I discovered it to at the moment right before I start chemo. So that'll be like starting at the beginning and working forward. But concurrently, I'll also be sharing reflections of as I'm going through chemo. Just, stream of consciousness stuff, what I'm going through, reflections I'm having about the whole cancer process. And then also another element, I've had loved ones in my life, friends, family, right, their reactions to me having cancer, because testicular cancer and men's health in general isn't discussed enough. We always hear about breast cancer and women doing self-checks, but you don't hear as much about men doing self-checks, and it's a little stigmatized, men talking about their health in general. I've been doing some research as I'm writing the blog posts of just statistics on guys and going to the doctor, and it's something like only 60% will go to the doctor just for annual checkups, and to admit something that's majorly wrong is even less. So that's the positive I've taken out of this. I can be an activist, if you will, get the message out there, get a conversation flowing with this.
Well, Justin, awareness is really what we're about at Hack Learning, trying to make people aware of important issues, problems in teaching and learning, and then, of course, providing solutions that make it easy to solve. Now, cancer's not easy to solve, and we don't want to make light of it, but you sort of are taking a lighthearted approach. I know you're serious about it, and I want everyone to know that you're serious about it, and that's why you've taken on this amazing challenge of chronicling this journey. But you're a little lighthearted approach with your blog, A Ballsy Sense of Tumor, and we're going to link that. We're going to excerpt your blogs on the show notes page at hacklearningpodcast.com, and we're going to continue to follow you on this journey. But because we are all about awareness and we're about right now solutions, let's turn this discussion toward the what you can do tomorrow. And I know you have a journey that goes beyond tomorrow for sure. You have a long, hard road ahead, and we don't want to underestimate that. But if I'm an educator in a position like you, and there may be those people listening right now, and maybe, and hopefully, they're inspired by your story. If I'm that person, what can I do? If I'm a parent, if I'm a guy who needs to be more aware of testicular cancer, what are some right now solutions? What are, as we say in Hack Learning, the what you can do tomorrow steps to dealing with this issue of cancer?
I think what you can do tomorrow, as an educator, if you're going through a situation like this, honestly, be open and honest and straightforward from the start. Get out in front of things, because we all know how people speculate, and I rather approach this head on. So, I address it with the students. I addressed it through a letter to the parents. While I was out, my principal addressed it to the whole staff, and then I addressed it when I returned. But just be open and honest, because, that's how awareness is going to be spread. If you are, open and honest about it. From an awareness standpoint, especially with testicular cancer, whether you are a guy or a girl listening to this, regular self-checks have to be a priority. That is literally something you can do tomorrow without, making this awkward. But that's how I found my lump. I just happened to be doing a self-check. So, they say monthly, but I say, even better. The quicker that it's caught, the better chance it is of not spreading or, being able to be contained and treated. So, self-checks, being open and honest, and, as you're going through it, share your journey. I mean, I'll be writing with my kids on Google Classroom while I'm out for chemo, and just, having an open and honest conversation. And then from the parent perspective, if, your child's teacher is going through this, be there for them as they're going through this journey with their teacher, and just let them talk, and then be there for the child's teacher. Do what you can. But I will say, through this whole thing, I've had an amazing support system overall. And, so those are the two things: be open and honest, and also regular self-checks. That has to be something, guys do them, girls, ask your guys to do them.
Justin, I want to summarize all of this in just a moment, but I know people listening now are going to want to connect with you. They're going to want to read your blog. Tell us how we can continue to follow this amazing journey.
I'd love for you to follow me in my journey. 2 different ways you can reach me directly. You can follow me on Twitter, which is Mr. B Teacher. So that's MR_B_teacher. Or you can email me directly. My email is justin@aballsysenseoftumor.com. And then my cancer blog, awareness blog, is going to be, or it's already launched. So it's aballsysenseoftumor.com. So that's where I'll be chronicling my journey. I invite you to join along, share it with loved ones, share it with your social networks. I mean, let's change this. Let's have an open conversation. I'm more than happy to reach out and talk with anyone going through anything, or if they just want more information, or just how they can support raising awareness.
So you're suggesting that we need to be open and honest in situations like this, and I think that's amazing advice that many people maybe aren't following, and I'm hoping that anyone listening who's in your position or knows someone in your position takes this to heart and says, hey, let's be open and honest with kids, with family, with friends, with stakeholders, because we have to face this head on. Also, self-checks. I know that this advice is out there. We don't hear it enough. I think it's great to hear it from a young guy like you who says, if you self-check regularly, you can beat this. So that's incredible advice for both men and women. We really appreciate that. And support. We need support. We need to support those like Justin in this position. We need to support our kids who have teachers with cancer, with any other major illness. We need to face it, but we need to support them and make this a journey. And Justin Birckbichler, that's what we're doing. We're making this a journey. We're going to take some excerpts from your blog. We're going to link them over on our show notes page. People can find that at hacklearning.org/cancer story. And thank you, listener, for tuning in to another episode of the Hack Learning Podcast. Please share it out, and let's continue to heighten awareness about cancer and the steps that we can take to defeat it. As always, we continue the conversation at #HackLearning on Twitter and on the show notes page at hacklearningpodcast.com. Thanks for listening. See you next time.